Hey guys, what's going on? It's me, Zap, and I got a video for you today about building a PC. And the reason I bring this up is because there's some steps that you need to take before you actually do your build. And these are steps that sometimes people forget, don't do, you know, but they will make your building experience simpler and overall will make it a better build. And most important, it's going to make you happy. It'll make you happier. And the reason I bring this up is because the last PC I built, I set a budget for $1,300, and I didn't do my research like I should have. I do keep I'm very intelligent when it comes to building and stuff, but I took some sacrifices that I probably shouldn't have taken so that I could get certain parts that not necessarily contribute to the overall value or performance of my PC, especially with the 16 gigs of RAM that I do have, and it's a high frequency RAM. And once you hit above 1600, you really don't see any benefits from having 1866 like I do, especially where I have 16 gigs of it at a low cache rate latency. So I've got $100 in RAM when I could have easily gotten just as good performance from 8 gigs. At maybe $50. And then the same goes with the SSD that I chose. I chose to get 250 gig Samsung 840, and I bought it when it first launched, so it was not cheap by any means. And I probably could have saved about $100 and some and threw it into something else, or split the money up and maybe got better components overall. So I really went against my rules whenever I built my system. So my steps are: number one, what's your budget going to be? You need to figure out what your budget's going to be and try and build from there. Some budgets are better than others, especially for gaming rigs. If you have like $600, that's your budget at that moment, you're going to want to wait. You will want to wait until you can save up more money. Just because at $600, you're really not going to be happy with it, and you're not going to hit that sweet spot for price per performance. The sweet spot is anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500, in my opinion, and a lot of other experts would agree. Okay, so that's how you should look at the budget. So you want to figure out your budget first. The next thing you want to do is you want to look at your usage. Are you going to be using it to play games, video editing, maybe Photoshop, stuff like that? Because that's really going to change what systems you're going to get, or what components you'll get. And by this I mean, if you're going to do video editing, you're not going to want a super high-end GPU. You're going to want a really good CPU. But if you're doing gaming, you're going to want a mid-range CPU and a really high-performance graphics card. So you need to look at your usage and like what games you're going to be. If you're going to be playing like Battlefield 3, Crysis 3, games that's really demanding, you're going to want to put more money into both the CPU and GPU than what you would say if you was just going to play League of Legends or WoW, Diablo 3, games like that. So for the more demanding games, you're really going to have to look at your budget, and that's why I put the budget first. So next you're going to want to do is you're going to want to figure out if you're going to do water or air cooling. And by this I mean, if you're just going to use an air heat sink, you need to make sure that your case supports the height of the heat sink, and you have a very high performing air case, something like the high airflow Corsairs, or not Corsairs, I'm sorry, Cooler Masters, maybe some of the higher airflow Corsairs, stuff like that. You're going to really want to look at that. But if you're going to do water cooling, you're going to have to do a lot of case research and figure out if your case will support the amount of radiator space that you need, along with the fans, the reservoir, the pump. And so that's really going to it's really going to affect your budget also. Water cooling is not cheap by any means, and you can spend upward of $1,000 on a really nice water cooling loop just by getting really good radiators and fans and pumps and reservoir. So you're really going to have to look at that whenever you choose your components. And if you're a noob, you're probably going to want to watch some videos on YouTube, and some really good places. We got Newegg, NCIX Tech Tips, Linus Tech Tips, the Time to Live Customs with Tiny Tom Logan. You're really going to look at them videos so that you know what's going on, and then so that you can, it's just like with a course or something. If you're in college, you're really going to want to do your research on how to do it so that you don't mess something up, and so that you know the lingo and everything that's going on. So after you watch these videos and you kind of have an understanding of what people's talking about, you're going to want to do your research. And by this I mean, you're going to want to research all the components that go into it, especially at your price range, so that you can figure out, you know, what will be the best components for your budget. So you're going to want to research all these components, and there are a lot of components to go through. You know, there's a lot of different brands and a lot of different manufacturers, and you know, you got AMD versus Intel, or AMD versus Nvidia, and stuff like that that you're really going to want to look at. Okay, so after that, you probably want to figure out your best price to performance ratio, and that way you get the best parts with the best performance at the best price, so that you don't overspend or underspend, and then it overall makes it a more balanced build, and ultimately it'll make you happier with it. And right now, the 3570K and the 7870 or 660 Ti are really the best price performance GPU and CPUs. I do like the AMD FX 8350, and that's just because it does better in some tasks and the frames really aren't as low. It is cheaper, and an AMD rig is actually cheaper overall than Intel, and it whoops most Intel's at the actual streaming and stuff. So once you do that, you know, you got this, probably going to want to check out some forums, you know, ask some questions from people that actually know what's going on, and so that you can get a lot of different advice from people. You know, I mean, be like, oh, well, this is, you know, my budget, and this is the parts I'm thinking about. Does anybody have any advice about what I could do or how I could change it? So once you get that figured out and stuff, and everybody gives you their input, then this is really the time that you need to sit down and think about it and what you ultimately want to buy, because it is your money. So, you know, kind of want to go over it and have like the way I do it usually is I build a couple different systems on Newegg, like with a wish list and stuff, and I go over it and I look at it and then I compare the components with the research that I've got, and then I decide what I'm going to ultimately buy. Except for this last time, I just kind of bought it on a whim, because I didn't have a PC. I sold my last one, and then one day I just picked out a bunch of parts and bought them, and I kind of paid the price for it because I'm not as happy as what I would have been if I would have done the right research and took my time. So whenever you're building your PC, you really do not want to do it compulsively or on a whim. You want to take your extra time, do your research, and figure out what's going to make you happy. So the last thing you want to do is you want to make sure, like I said, I've been saying this a lot, the last thing, but it's not the least, it's, you know, least thing to do, is you want to make sure it's going to make you happy. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with it, and it is your money, and you want it to do everything that you want it to do, and you're going to have a good experience. Because there's nothing like building a rig and having it and then not being happy with it, because you just spent all this money, and ultimately you're probably going to end up having to build another one. And I'm probably going to end up building another one here in a couple months because I hate mine at the moment. So you could be in a position like I am, and this video is really just to help the people that don't know what's going on, you know, and to be friendlier and help people. And I'm always trying to start doing a lot more videos like this. And then the next video that I'm gonna make, well, it might not be the next, but the one down the line, is I'm gonna talk about my system and what I would have changed, and then the new system that I'm gonna build. I'm in between two different things. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. And I hope this helps you all. I really do. And thanks for watching. Alright, peace out, guys. Later.